We at Time Shifters hope that you enjoyed this rare and infamous moment that combines a first-rate disaster with genuine historical significance. But now it's time to take a deep breath as we prepare to temporarily reset you. Get your cars to Mars.
Hey there, this is Christopher, and I'd like to welcome you to the Time Shifters podcast. On this show, Tom and I dive into movies and TV, mostly in the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genres, and share our thoughts, some reviews, and we'll definitely go on a few tangents along the way. To start that off, let's get Tom in on all the fun. Tom, how you doing today?
Oh, not too bad. Lot going on.
Yeah, it's been a busy month already, and we're only 1 week in?
It's been a busy month these past 4 days.
Yeah, exactly.
With no signs of it ending.
Have you been up to anything fun?
Fun is always relative.
Well, yeah.
I've done lots of yard work. Is that fun? It looks nicer. Yeah. I don't know that I'd call it fun.
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of that myself. Finally got some plants in the ground and trying to get things to grow where I need things to grow, where things I didn't want growing before were.
I'm dealing with sadness. There was a very nice tree that I planted last year that even came back out of winter, and then I took a trip and it died sometime in the process of being perfectly green and healthy and going on this trip, coming back and gone. It just all brown and nasty. And I'm like, what the hell happened? I feel like somebody poisoned it.
That's a shame. Yeah, I remember years ago we had a plant. It was an amaryllis. And we really liked it. And it was just really happy where it was. It would bloom every year, sometimes twice. Sometimes we'd get a couple stalks on it and big giant blooms and everything. And then we went away for a few days. We tried to make sure it had plenty of water before we left and everything, but we came back and it was gone. And we were so sad.
Well, that's part of what I don't even understand. It didn't have time to burn out. It rained while I was gone. It was just, there's no reason for it. And it wasn't cheap.
That's a shame.
So, yeah, not happy about that. Other than that, did a little adventuring, found a nice second-hand toy shop, actually called Second Chance Toys. That was actually a really fun place. They had lots of good stuff, and it's remarkably in good shape. I found things that would have been easily 20 years old, new in box, and the battery still worked.
Okay, that's impressive.
Yeah, even they had some from the 90s. There was a release of Battlestar Galactica figures where they had the Cylons looked like Cylons, but they had kind of the body of Masters of the Universe, so they were kind of extra bulky. Him, yeah.
I'm showing that on the screen.
Yeah,
yes.
I found that one in its package, still new, and with the little tester button on its chest, still lit up.
Yeah, I don't know if mine will light up. I forgot that he did do that. No, he does not light up anymore.
So yeah, the one in the store is handling it better than yours.
Yeah. Well, if anything, I took that off my windowsill and now I put it back on. If anything collapses on me today, you'll know what and why.
I'd like to thank you to the Tom Show. We lost Chris in the middle of the recording.
Yeah, I got a Cylon gun through the temple or something.
But yeah, so that was fun, and also did a little exploring in some areas of Maryland that I haven't been, and came across a little town called North Beach that was neither north or had a beach.
Of course.
Yeah. Absolutely love that. So
Was that Toy Story? You sent me a photo where you picked up a couple Babylon 5 figures. Is that where you found those?
Yeah, I especially with us recently talking about Londo and Jakar and some of their dealings with one another, and the fact that there were two brand new in package. They were in perfect shape. They looked like they just came off the line. No yellowing on the package. No ultraviolet fading on the paint job on the figures. And the guy was only selling them for $5 each. I'm like,
that blows me away.
Yeah.
$5. Yeah, I would have jumped on them too.
yeah. So I couldn't resist. So I picked up those. I also picked up a Kosh.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, speaking of Babylon 5, we finished the series.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't know if I had mentioned or not. Yeah, my wife and I made it all the way through the series, and then we got into the films that all came out shortly there. I guess I don't know if the films came up after the series or were filmed during, but some of them took place
kind of
like a season ago.
Yeah, like they're almost like a backstory or something.
Yeah, the timeline's a little goofy on some of them. The In the Beginning is still an amazing piece of storytelling. That's one worth Londo just telling the story of the Minbari War to the two kids, in the throne room.
Okay.
Just astonishingly good storytelling. That's just amazing. But by the time you get down to like something like A Call to Arms, which is sort of a setup to the spin-off of Crusade.
Yeah.
Oh man, that one is a slog.
There was a reason it was in decline.
Yeah, I think that was the last one they did in '99. I think it was. Yeah, it's rough. I don't even think they had the same music, or the same composer working on it. The music in the thing is awful.
Oh wow,
it's really bad.
Yeah, I have lost track of so many of those. I don't even know if I've seen them all because the way that they handled going from syndication to TNT and all that, it all got lost in the jumble.
See, that's the weirdest thing is I think I remember watching all the films somehow, but I didn't see most of the final season of the show.
Yeah.
So that I find, I don't know how. I don't know how that happened, but that's the way it went down. Again,
the scheduling on it became nightmarish after a while. It was hard to keep track.
Yeah, maybe that was just it. And then the films, I'm guessing I caught up on a lot of them when sci-fi first became a thing, and they were looking for anything and everything to fill their
anything
time
they
slots.
could afford to get the content of.
Right. So.
Babylon 5 was probably came cheap.
Yeah, I'm guessing. That's probably where I caught most of these films. But yeah, now we still have the animated film that came out a couple years ago to watch. The Road Home, I think it's called.
Yeah, and it's an anthology film, so number of short stories.
Oh, is it? Interesting. Okay,
Yes.
now I'm looking forward to that. We still have that to watch yet, but once we do that, we'll be done with Babylon 5. We are not going into Crusade.
The only thing about Crusade that I even remotely recall is the ship, and I thought the ship was kind of cool.
I never cared for it.
No?
No, I didn't care for it.
That was the only thing that I did like about it, so it wasn't like the characters or anything were doing it for me. In fact, I don't think I could name a character from that show.
Yeah, one was a technomage.
That's as much as I know.
Yeah. And it was so everyone blended together through the last couple seasons of Babylon 5. There's so many. Every season has like the British guy. And I thought I was a little surprised at the end of like season 4, I guess it was, or whatever, when Marcus died. So I thought he was in Crusade. Nope, different British guy.
Actually, I would have probably. I think I know that Marcus died, but yeah, I also picture him as being in Crusade.
Yeah.
By the way, I could have picked you up a Marcus if you really wanted one.
No, I definitely did not want a Marcus. Yeah, I have been watching a couple films. Only one I'm going to mention, and it's probably for all the wrong reasons. Because I have a soft spot kind of for like the backyard independent film.
Uh-huh.
They're often pretty bad, but I think I kind of revel in their badness because it's still somebody. It's a guy, his friends and family that managed to put together and make
There's
a film.
People trying to make an effort, and they got enough resources together to try.
Yeah, well, one I stumbled across is from 2007 called Splatter Beach.
Okay.
And I'm going to guess that it's probably the best sea monster film filmed in Pennsylvania.
I'm going to go out on a limb and go, you're absolutely right.
I liked it. I had a fun time with it because it wasn't trying to be anything other than what it was.
Yeah.
It was a bunch of people that got together. They were trying to make a silly horror film.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what it was. The monster was obviously rubber suited. It was done super cheap. They couldn't get all the extras to the beach kind of thing, so they did a lot of green screen where it's just people, dancing in bikinis and whatever, doing like a music video, and obviously in front of a green screen of the beach that they do occasionally film at.
Oh, okay. Not a Getty Images.
No. They actually did film at the beach, and occasionally they'd have like someone at the beach acting like they are interacting with the people that are doing their little dancing, in front of the green screen, and it was kind of adorable. It's not a good film, but it was just kind of adorable.
A valiant attempt was made.
A couple other films I've watched, of none of serious note, but yeah, that's kind of all I've been up to.
The most that I've gotten accomplished viewing-wise of late is to actually start and finish the third season of Reacher.
Oh, good.
Yes, good. Which delivers on most of the Reacher goodness, but it somehow still falls not as good as the first and second seasons. And starting to notice a trend, and I actually be curious if Alan Richardson has something in his contract about how much effort he'll put into certain stuff, because what the Reacher series is always notorious for is, as you tell the story, they'll do some flashback to things that happened in his prior military career that is relevant to what he is doing now. And this one is no different, because the bad guy he's after in this one is a bad guy he thought he killed before. And that bad guy did horrible, despicable things. But what's hysterical is at no point, like, Alan's not getting any younger doing this stuff. And he was much younger when they started, and when they started, he was a lot closer to his military career. So the flashbacks kind of fit. But now they'll do the flashbacks, and he looks exactly like he looks now, including if in the scene that we're watching him in, he's got a lot of stubble on his face. He's got a lot of stubble on his face in the flashback, too. I'm like, you didn't think to maybe go clean shaven for this? Maybe try to look a little more the part? I don't know.
Right.
But I'm loving that... they know they're doing pretty good. They're riding off of it, but now I'm like, now you're not putting in the effort that you were.
No, that's a shame.
It kind of is. I'm hoping for better, and I'm actually surprised. I'm not a avid reader of the books. I understand there's like a 24 or so Reacher books, something like that. Mm-hmm. But one of the characters who she is not in most of the books. She is recurring, but not on the regular. Well, she has been recurring on the regular in every season, and she's going to get her own spin-off show, which means there's
interesting.
no content for her. There's no book written about her. So this should be interesting, but she is an interesting character, so I'm curious what they'll do with that.
Yeah, they're very interesting. Yeah, without anything grounding her, and as far as previous.
All of it has to be built off of this series. So you can now expand upon her character, which that should be fun, but there's not a whole lot to go on. So it'll be entirely original content, sort of.
Yeah,
so,
cool.
Yeah, that should be fun. But yeah, I'd still recommend to watch. It's still great, good bashing. And of course, in this season, as in the book, it was apparently in the book this way, they actually found a guy bigger than Reacher.
Yeah, that's what you were saying before.
Yeah, and Alan Richardson, 6'5", and a hulk of a man. To find somebody who is actually bigger than him is a bit of a challenge, especially one that's not just taller. He has to be physically built, too. And they found that guy. He was kind of fantastic for that.
Cool.
In fact, you start recognizing, like, they're in this lavish house where most of this takes place. So, this is a house where doors are easily, like, 8 feet tall and all that, and you're still watching this guy duck to get through doorways. I'm like, holy cow, you are a big man. So, fun just for all of that.
Yeah, very cool. If that's it, I think this is as good a place as any to take a break. We'll listen to a promo for another podcast, and then we get back. We're heading off to the Red Planet once again when we check out The Last Days on Mars.
Okay, you know what it's like. You're flicking through Amazon or the local DVD shop when suddenly you discover a film that you haven't seen in years, but which you remember as being legendary. The purchase is hastily made, you invite friends over, make popcorn and settle down to watch this classic. But then it becomes apparent that your mind has double-crossed you, and that this film is frankly awful. Soon your friends have deserted you, your boss says he has to let you go, and even your dog won't come when you call. How did it go so wrong? Well, in the interests of public harmony, a new podcast, I Saw That Years Ago, sets out to watch the old films that your memory has convinced you are brilliant, but which in reality could be anything but. So join me, your host Martin Darkley, and my compatriot, Gentleman Joe, as we watch the old films so you don't have to. Find us at www.isawthatyearsago.com or on iTunes.
Last Days on Mars from 2013 was directed by Ruari Robinson with a screenplay by Clive Dawson, and it's based on the short story The Animators by Sidney J. Bounds. Stars Liev Schreiber, Romola Garay, Johnny Harris, and Olivia Williams. In the film, it's the final hours of a 6-month scientific mission on Mars, and a team of astronauts prepare to return to Earth. As they wrap up their research, one of the crew members makes a startling discovery beneath the planet's surface. What begins as a promising scientific breakthrough quickly escalates into sheer terror and a fight for survival against the Martian landscape and each other. I have seen this film once before. Yes, I was wondering, I thought it seemed familiar by the title, but I couldn't place whether I had or not. Yeah, it wasn't long into watching the film when I realized I did watch this once, probably when it first came to streaming or DVD or something like that.
And how did it do?
Well, I was curious. Was this a first-time watch?
Oh, it was an absolute first-time watch. In fact, as we get into the conversation, I went in knowing nothing about this film other than the title and Liev Schreiber in it. That's it.
All right. Yeah, very cool. I had a feeling, if I had seen it before, I remember, oh, is this the film that I thought this about? Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so as soon as I started watching, I went, this is the film that I thought that thing about.
Well, let's not bury the lead. What is the thing that you thought?
The thing that I thought, and what disappoints me, is at the 34-minute mark of this film, it's just another zombie movie.
Yep. The thing I had going for me in this is I had no idea it was going to be a zombie movie. So when I actually got zombies out of this, I'm like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And then that wore off very quickly.
So you had the same experience I did the first time I watched this film many years ago.
Yeah, and I'm even kind of having I kind of like how we got into it slow and steady. We've got a crew here. They're doing their research. They weren't super clear at the get-go of what exactly they were researching. Like, you saw them out on their various missions, and they all have to come back to the habitat and all that, and they're trying to get together some meeting, but it's unclear what it is that they're searching for.
It looked like they were just looking for anything that they could find.
Yeah, it's samples of things that weren't just the rock on the surface. Yeah, just try to probe into, can we find out anything more about Mars that we didn't know before?
Right.
Although I think upon further research after the fact, it was always meant to be a search for some sort of life associated with Mars.
Well, I think any manned mission, scientific mission where you have an actual crew and a habitat set up as a science lab, I would imagine that is going to be kind of the first and foremost. That's going to be on the big wish item, big wish list.
Yeah, there's some, at least some hope. And what I was impressed with, even with this, at least for the opening sequence, is even if that's what they're searching for, they're not necessarily searching from the perspective of, was there historically a sentient life on there? No, they're looking for just basic. Is there anything on this rock that is considered life? Bacterial, whatever. It doesn't need to be anything big. They're looking to see if that's a thing that is happening on Mars. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, and I think this film comes on the heels of, wasn't it? It was about this time or shortly before where someone was studying, I think it was just a moon rock, and they found something and they kind of jumped the gun and said, oh no, what we have here is evidence that there was once microbes or something.
Yeah.
And it turned out to not be the case at all.
Right.
This film jumped on the heels of that and kind of rode that story as if that was a thing and played off of that.
And if anything, I thought that was a pro for this one. And I was kind of enjoying that up to that point. And I even kind of dug out of the gate kind of the reality perspective. Let's say we got to a point where our technology is pretty solid. Like, this was one of the first movies, especially a Mars set one, where it really wasn't about the disaster that causes something. Like it wasn't a failure of their stuff. I appreciated that they had sandstorms that didn't destroy everything in their path. They were just there.
It's my first note on the film is Martian storms that don't impact the plot.
Right, like they saw the sandstorm coming, they just drove right on through. It's like, this is going to be annoying, it cuts visibility, but it's not a danger to us. It's just a hindrance to getting anything else useful done. So They know they're going back to the habitat, but it's not we gotta rush because we're gonna be caught in this and we're gonna be killed. No, it's we can't see anything anymore. Let's go home, wait till it blows by, we'll get back out there. And then on top of it, which is the title, Last Days on Mars, is a reference to the fact their ride is coming. It's time to go. They're in the last day or so.
Yeah, I think it's like 18 hours before they're going to
not
leave.
even a full day then. But yes, they're gonna go, and then I kind of like that whole. You could see the effects. They've been there a while, and it's getting to people. I mean, the day in, day out trudgery of doing all the things that you have to do to stay alive in an environment, even though it all works, that's a lot to still put on a human psyche for a period of time with a group of people that you may or may not get along with. And it was clear that was starting to kind of break down too.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if this was another case of a crew that you wouldn't want to spend time with on Earth, much less in space or on another planet. You wonder, did they ever get along, or was this the result of them being stuck together for probably the better part of 2 years? Or a year.
And I was kind of getting the vibe that they were doing this right. I actually was applauding the writing. I didn't get the sense that, with the exception of the one woman who was clearly a sociopath, because she had no feeling about anything at all, ever. So she was your outlier in that. But I got the impression that for the most part, these people, they were well trained for this. They knew how to do it. They've gone through the psychological test. It's a lot. It's a lot to be with the same group of people in a very confined space for, probably going on 2 years. So I thought they were very effective in all of that. And then we got unhinged very quickly. And actually, I thought she was fairly effective in delivering. I don't even know that mean is the right word. She was just so matter-of-fact about everything. Everything was about the mission at hand. Your emotional state and the things that you care about were never on her radar at all.
Well, and I think there's a lot of frustration on her part. I think she felt like she was nearing something in whatever research she was doing, and she needed more time, and she wasn't going to get it.
Right, no, because their ride is coming. And this is part that it did kind of go a little off the rails. I thought that they were building kind of this neat little world with them at first. We're feeling the end effect of being in this environment as long as they have. They are at that time. It's time to go. Being here any longer isn't going to go well. But whether that's a component of the fact that their clock is running out and they're afraid, their nerves are frayed. But there's that rivalry thing that there's the guy that says he's got to go fix a sensor. He's not going to fix a sensor. He has a lead on one of the things that they would have been looking for. And as a result of having a lead on that, he's going to hide it so that he can get credit. Like, really, you're about 2 years into this, and you're going to make it about who finds the thing first?
Yeah.
This seemed a little petty at that stage. And of course, but without it, you can't set into motion the stupidity that makes everything unravel from there.
Yeah, I agree with you that the build-up, as I said, the first 34 minutes of this film, I think, okay, we're building on some interesting stuff. This is going to be a real character-driven kind of film. Mm-hmm. This is going to deal with the psychological effects of, being stuck with the same 6-8 people or whatever. Mm-hmm. The idea that you could come across the discovery, what you've been, this is going to change everything that mankind knows about their solar system the last day on the planet. What does that do to you that you then have to pack up and leave it for the next guys to come
right
and continue the work? I mean, there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, and I was enjoying that drama on it, and I even liked that our main character, Lee Schreiber's character, is the one that we get the first notion that he's kind of unraveling. He's done. He's done from the moment we meet him. He's like, I want out. The ride's coming. Let's go. He is all in on getting the hell out of there. So the fact that he's the one that's unraveling and everyone else is still very focused on the, I need credit. It was. I like that dynamic, but yeah, then we kind of...
Because I think he was just basically more the engineer.
Yes.
That was on the team. He wasn't one of the scientists. He's not there to make discoveries. He's there to make sure everything works.
Right.
And everything is working. It's time to go. Why everything is still working. That's why he wants to get out there.
Every day we stay, we're pushing our luck, and every day we stay, I get sick and tired of seeing all of you.
But how does somebody become an astronaut when you suffer from claustrophobia? That is a character trait that I just don't know why that was added to this character, because it doesn't really play any part in the film other than to create a little bit of drama when there isn't anything else going on.
I have an interesting little side note, and then I'm going to give the listeners a little view into me. and here's where I'm going to go with this. So I think you can get into something like that where maybe you might be slightly bothered by a tight space, but in the moment, you can shake it off pretty easily. You're not having to deal with it constantly. You know you can remove yourself from the situation. And the reason I say that you can do this, from an earlier age, I've never particularly liked heights, but I could deal with them. And I've done some stupid shit off of heights. I've done bungee jumping. I've challenged the notion of being afraid of heights. But I find as time goes on, it's weird how that starts to manifest. Because I recently went on a trip with my son that required us to cross a very long, very narrow bridge that went very high and didn't seem to have a whole lot of railing on either side. It literally had those little cement burrs that they put on like the side of a road when they're on construction, only that's the only thing keeping you from going over the edge of the bridge. And I can say, at this age, I white-knuckled the crap out of that drive, being dead focused to stay, and it's only 2 lanes, so I don't get a middle one. So I had to lock in. And I am only noticing now that what started off as a little inkling has grown. So you take a man who, yeah, he might have had of that, but he could handle it. Now you put him 2 years into a thing where everything just seems to keep closing in on you. I think that's how you get there. I think you can be psychologically fit to do it, and the wear of time and having it being faced with it a lot more directly, that's when it starts to break you down.
All right, that actually makes a little bit of sense. Yeah. That really does. Yeah.
So, which is why I was giving the psychological and the character development that they were doing a lot of decent credit right out of the gate. I was liking where this was going for a while. I
did appreciate that it was something that he would occasionally find debilitating.
Yeah.
But when push came to shove, though, he kind of in many cases and many times would fight through it.
Yeah, because we had that scene where he had to cram himself between the racks to I forget which system was bugging out on them, but he had to get into a very, very tight space. Now, was that bugging him? Absolutely it was bugging him, but did he know that he could extract himself from it and feel better? He did know that too. So that's how you get through those things. I only got to make it for a few minutes and then I'm out.
Or I think even a better example is when they realize they have to go through the air duct between the hydroponic dome and the scientific dome. And again, kudos to them for actually putting your oxygen supply somewhere else.
Yeah, right.
Away from the things that can explode.
Yes.
And he has to crawl through this tube in a spacesuit.
Yeah.
and everything. So he manages to get through that. There are a few times where he doesn't, and he can't manage to push it aside. When he is doing the rappelling down into the chasm, and he has an attack there, and he can't push through. He can't shake it at that moment. So it seemed to kind of come and go when it needed to be. Like I said, when they needed to ramp up the little bit of drama when there wasn't anything else to do it.
Right, and those are the scenes where I think actually you start to see the movie a little unravel, because it starts becoming unclear, what are we experiencing? I get that he's flashing back onto something. We're not getting the whole story. We just know it's causing him a tremendous amount of anxiety, but it's never entirely clear, did he completely space out, collapse, and people are now bringing him kind of back, or is it more momentary and they're not as worried about him as one would seem you should? And it was a little unclear. They weren't delivering that very well.
No, he kept flashing back to moments where I guess they were on the ship on the way to Mars.
They had made some reference to a thing we didn't get the full story on. Something happened on either another mission or on the way there. And we didn't get the details, but apparently that's the thing that he keeps focusing on. Because we keep seeing this scenes of an airlock and viewing out of the window and the possibility of him going out of it, which is why we get to the culmination toward the end of the film where he literally has to open an airlock to space. And he has to survive that experience. So he's literally living out the trauma that he keeps remembering from something else.
Right, yeah. So it wasn't clear. There wasn't any exposition on that. And, we've complained about over-exposition, in the past and everything. So you're fine trying to show it instead of telling it, but you're going to have to show more if you want me to latch on to what this all means.
Yeah, if I'm supposed to feel this in the moment with him, I need to know why he feels what he feels, because I'm not getting enough out of this. So yeah, you're right on. Sometimes you gotta share a little bit more.
Right. Yeah, but I made a point of noting when it happens. It is the 34-minute mark when I think the zombies show up.
Right.
And they're like, oh, it's going to be one of these movies.
and when it does become one of those movies, I at first I was kind of impressed. Okay, we've got... They discovered in the collapse alien organism of some kind. Clearly not a sentient thing, but it's something. They don't know what. We never get into that. So the fact that we might generate a Martian zombie out of this, sure, why not? But it starts to wear very quickly. And zombies always have weird kind of dynamics anyways. You can make great zombie films, you can make terrible zombie films, and I would dare say there's more of the bad than there is the good. And this one leans toward the bad because I give it credit for an alien kind of thing that might cause this, but then we get no sense of how or why any of it works from there. Like, okay, they're infected, but what are they after? Like, what is driving the creature that gets created out of this? Why does it know where to go?
Yeah.
Why can't it get there on foot when they drive everywhere else? Yeah,
I actually have a couple notes. I had to jot down a few things on this, and this is often an issue with zombie films. Is there's what's the motivation for the zombies,
right.
for lack of a better way of putting it. We get the hint that these things are what I called hydrophages. So instead of flesh eaters, they're craving liquid. They're craving water.
Okay.
But at no point despite being shown the infected people craving the water and survivors noticing the infected people craving water, is the fact that the infected cravings water ever discussed amongst the survivors? Or is it ever suggested that they could use that as some sort of distraction or lure?
Well, and if that, and you took out of that more than I got out of it, because I didn't latch on to that at all.
Well, do you remember the scene when the first two zombies or infected? I don't want to, when they break into the science lab, a beaker of water hits the floor, and the one immediately goes to the floor and starts sucking up the water.
Okay, no, I did catch that again because no one really latched onto it themselves. But then,
and there's also several instances where the people before they turn are just like, God, I'm so thirsty, and they're guzzling water as much as they can.
But then that immediately goes to, why are they chasing the people to the point of breaking down? Like, they're literally destroying the habitat, trying to get into the habitat, but they're not going after the water supply that's in the habitat?
Yes, exactly.
You can't possibly extract enough moisture from the other living being that you're about to also infect and now make part of the problem. The motivations for the creatures that come from this, it's because the script said so. And I don't like that.
Yeah, I think there's like one scene, but you can barely see it towards the end when some of the infected party attack the lander crew. You see one of them like hunched over someone else, and it looks like they're drinking or lapping up something, the blood, I guess.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really work because one of the first deaths you see is drilled to the gut, and then the infected person just tries to get through the airlock instead of going after the blood that's pulling up right there beneath his feet.
Right, yeah, no, I mean, if that's your attraction, why isn't that where... Yeah, this fits along those lines when you have zombies and you can't tell why or what they're after. Fits in the same category of the spacefaring alien race that has no language and seems to wander around as a slathering monster. You took the time to build warp capability, but you can't speak or go 5 minutes without attacking something to its death.
Right.
I struggle with these notions. So, there has to be a reason why. Good science fiction should really kind of dig into the why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And this film is no different from almost any film that has zombies in it, is that it doesn't make any sense. Okay, they're craving water, but that doesn't work because it's established pretty early on that once these people are infected, there's no life functions. Right. So no pulse, no breathing. So why would ingesting liquid help if there's no functional digestion or water absorption? And then, of course, they go to the troubles like, oh, it looks like antibiotics slow it down. There's no blood flow.
Right.
You injected them with antibiotics. The only place those antibiotics are is wherever you just injected it.
I'll dial it back a little further. If this is the result of an infection from whatever it is that they found in that chasm that was alive on a planet that doesn't really have water, why is that the motivation?
Well, I think you were to assume that there was water under the surface, because once the ground breaks away, there's like lots of steam coming up. And someone even says there must have been a ton of water down there.
That's the sum. Then why leave the pit? There's your food source. Why are you going anywhere? They should have just been wandering around in a circle down there.
This film could have worked so much better. You don't have to change anything from the first 34 minutes, but after that 34-minute mark, have the people get infected, but don't turn them into mindless water or blood craving monsters. Have them just the people
Right.
that are overcome by this craving. That would give them some agency, give them some motivation for why they would go to the science, why they'd be seeking out other people, is because they're still them, but they can't control because the craving for what they need is so great.
Well, and then it opens the possibility of the thing that we liked a lot about The Martian. This is an opportunity to science the shit out of this. If they are still who they are, and they're all scientists,
Right.
watching them fight this craving that they have and then try to also figure out how to solve it, that could have been an amazing story unto itself. And you could even still get to the ultimate thing where no matter what they do, they can't shake it, but they know they can't let it get away.
You could have turned this film into a fantastic sort of allegory about like drug addiction.
Yeah.
And actually, having the addicts trying to cure themselves.
Yeah. And you can still go with the really bad ending. I don't need a happy ending every time, but I mean, after watching what started off so promisingly continue to decline into this nonsensical thing to then also have nobody survive. Like, wow, that was an hour and 40 minutes of who gives a damn? So, yeah.
Yeah, because there is no doubt that this guy is infected at the end of this film.
Right, no.
One of the infected have taken a knife out of their own hand and stabbed him. And yes, it's only barely
He's not even
grazed
sure
him.
that he broke the skin, but he can't risk it.
Right. Well, no, there is like a mark on his cheek.
There's a mark, and this is how I took it. Was that a mark that that it broke skin, or is that just a depression of an object against the skin, that it was pressed so hard that it didn't break? So I was kind of at least giving a little credit to the whole, he's not really sure 100%,
Well,
but he can't risk it either.
Yeah, I think we saw the other guy get infected by someone choking him really hard.
Well,
and
yeah,
leaving a thumbprint.
Yeah,
so
the transmission was a little shaky on this too. How you get it, apparently just be in the room with them was almost enough.
Right.
Like, I liked the part where he was a little conscious of the fact that when he did have to hit the airlock to blow out the body of the guy and the blood. And he was trying to be very, like, it's part of why he ejected his own helmet in all of that, is because there was blood splattered on the helmet aside from the puncture part. And like, he's trying to make it so that he can be the one that gets to live, and then still can't manage to fully get there.
Yeah. No, I think it's a shame. I think this film had a lot of potential with, well, I was going to say a little bit of tweaking, but no, it needs a total rewrite. But
Yeah.
no, there's a lot of potential with the cast, with this idea. You don't have to make them just mind. What was the elevator pitch on this film? I mean, it's like 28 Days Later, but on Mars. I mean, that's it. That's this film in a nutshell.
Well, only it won't be as good.
No.
So we really got you now. Dialing back to the exposition thing too, one of the things I struggled with is, what were the roles of all of these people? Because our character that we got, who was essentially the planted coward, the guy that was going to sell out everything and everyone to just live. Mm-hmm. But I'm not entirely sure what his role was from the onset, because he seemed to be like this counselor-like guy. He was actually talking to Liev Schreiber's character as if he was trying to talk him down from the anxiety that he was feeling. And it would have made sense if there was some sort of mental health professional on the crew. And then it would be even more satisfying that the mental health professional is the one that cracks. But we don't actually get to know what he does.
No, I think from the scenes that he's had, there was a moment where he actually talked to the commander once too, when Olivia Williams, Kim, was being pretty gruff and aggressive towards him and everything, and he pulls the commander aside privately and like, you can't let her talk to you like that in front of everybody. You can't let anybody talk to you, you know. So yes, I think you're right. I think he is effectively the crew counselor.
Yeah, and I love that. I could have used a little more confirmation that was his role. Like, I don't need to be spoon fed everything, but knowing what their positions were wouldn't have hurt.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone take another stab effectively at this and just change it enough and just give these people something to do other than just run around and attack each other.
Yeah, they built this up way too much for it to just evolve into a poor man's version of Aliens.
No, unfortunate. It's just that's the impression I remember getting it from the first time I saw it, and it hasn't changed. It's just you had something and then it just left. I'm curious I'm going to try to dig up the short story.
Yeah.
And see if it's the same thing or if there's more to it. I'm going to be really disappointed if there's more to that short story, and that there's a little bit of the idea that the people that are infected are still them, just with an uncontrollable craving.
Yeah, I think you're. I think you're hoping a little too much, but
we'll see. Maybe I'll have to try to dig it up. We'll see what happens.
There you go.
All right. Well, we didn't get any social media on this one. If anyone's actually listening, let me tell you something. If you're going to look at the post and like the post, but not say anything about the post, that really annoys me.
Especially if it's a question.
Yeah. If I ask you the question, what do you think of this film? You know, if you've seen the film, if you didn't like it, or if you don't remember anything, just, even if you never watched it, let me know you never watched it. Just don't like the post.
Don't get us wrong. We appreciate the like.
Yeah. Rant over. I'm sorry.
But damn it, folks, we need content.
Yeah, but I'm very curious what critics of the time thought of this one.
You could probably find it a little on track, but I did actually manage to find one that really liked this. It came out of Los Angeles Times, Kenneth Turan. He writes, lean, muscular, and on the money. The Last Days on Mars takes a familiar story and tells it so tautly that we are pleased to be on board. Screenwriter Dawson has seen to it that the crew members and their interactions, the ways they get along and get on one another's nerves, are more naturalistic and dramatically involving than usual. Those interactions come down to a key quote from one of the crew members. People don't really change. Put them under enough pressure and you find out who they are and how. So, definitely leaning heavy into that front end of the movie.
Oh, no, definitely. And he makes a good point. And that same point would play even better if it carried through the rest of the film. Can you imagine you got these people, some that like each other, some that don't like each other, and watch that dynamic when they're all infected and they want to be at each other's throats, but they're trying to hold it in?
Like in other parts in his review, he appreciated the horror elements that came in, but he divorces the whole idea that in this case the horror part completely took away from all the stuff that you just built up. It didn't improve it. It worsened it. Over on the RogerEbert.com, Glenn Kenny, The Last Days on Mars is a movie that I, someone who grew up loving both science fiction and horror movies, rather wish I could like better. And it really isn't even a bad movie, or a bad movie of its sort. It's just not good enough to really distinguish itself. The cast does its level best, the script doesn't pour on the cliches too strenuously, but there's not enough here in terms of jolts and shocks and scares. A more ruthless momentum might have overcome the sense of deja vu. But while I certainly didn't find anything to hate about The Last Days of Mars, on Mars, not of Mars, but that's what he wrote, its main impact on me was reminding me of movies I might have rather been watching.
Yeah, I was thinking just before we sat down that this movie is one of the most perfect examples of the 5 out of 10 film.
Yep.
It is not bad. It is not good. It is solidly right in the middle. I mean, there's not enough here to hate.
No.
But there's nothing to love.
No. No, if anything, it's more of a, like it just lets you down, which was sad.
Yeah, no, I think, if you wanted to have a subtitle for this film, it's Last Days on Mars. Meh.
Oh, and I got one more from Variety. Justin Chang. This murkily derivative sci-fi horror entry sets its sights disappointingly low in terms of story and ideas, leaving the viewer's sense of awe unstirred as a solid cast, top-lined by Liev Schreiber, trudges its way through what basically amounts to Red Planet of the Dead. Yeah, that one's probably a little too harsh. He's not giving very forgiving at the front end of the film, but yeah, it just devolves into this senseless zombie movie that wasn't even that stirring as a zombie movie.
No, this easily could be if George Romero decided to try to make one of his films in space. Mm-hmm. This is what this film would be. Yeah.
Only George at least outlined the rules for his zombies a little better.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'll give credit where credit's due.
I have a feeling this film was produced because there was other films coming out or had come out. The zombie was kind of popular. 28 Days Later was like 2002, so I don't know if you can count that one. But The Walking Dead had just premiered in 2012.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too far before. World War Z came out in 2013.
So same year.
So yeah, I think it was just because, zombies were hot.
Yeah, and we were off the tail of the all the Mars movies that had come through as well. So you merge them together, and the two great tastes apparently don't taste great together.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. All right, well, if that is all you've got, then I think next time we're going to might be sticking with a theme. We'll see what happens.
We could be pleasantly surprised.
Absolutely. We could be looking at a film from 2022 called Deus, starring Claudia Black.
Yeah.
So, of Farscape and Stargate SG-1 fame.
Yes. And Pitch Black.
Oh, she was in Pitch Black too, was she?
She was.
Oh, it's been so long since I've seen that film.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't take place on Mars, so we can't watch it.
No. But maybe next year we'll find some excuse.
Come up with a new theme around what are the actors that, whether they're good or bad, that we are just drawn to.
maybe, or maybe the entire theme will be films we just want to watch.
We're tired of coming up with themes.
Yeah, so anyway, if you've seen Deus, let me know, or let us know
Yes.
what you think of it. It's going to be a first-time watch for, I think, both of us.
Absolutely. Never heard.
I'm not even sure I've ever had even heard of it
Yeah.
until it popped up on this list. So,
No, we're going in blind.
All right, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening to the Time Shifters podcast. We would love to hear your thoughts on this episode, whether it's feedback, questions, or just something you want to share. You can reach out via email or drop a comment on any of our social media posts. Just follow the link in the show notes or head to timeshifterspodcast.com.
If you've got a moment, please consider leaving a rating or review. It really helps more people discover the show, and who knows, they might become listeners too.
We can only hope.
We can hope.
If you're feeling a little extra generous, you can toss a little support our way monetarily. You can go to Ko-fi.com/TSPOE podcasts, and every bit of that money goes towards web hosting and production costs. This show is always going to be free, but any help is truly appreciated.
Or if you'd rather just have stuff, you like things, you like items, check out our merch at TeePublic or Dashery. Links are in the show notes and on our site. You'll be helping us out and supporting some awesome independent artists at the same time.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for this episode. Thanks again, everyone. We will catch you next time. Bye.
See ya.